Okay. This morning, I'm going to say, let's do this exercise together. Fellow Nigerians watching, pick up a calculator, wherever you might be this morning, and calculate this. 87 plus 26. 87 trillion, the debt we have on ground, plus 26, the debt that is proposed that will borrow in the mid-term expenditure framework. 26 trillion plus 7 trillion. That'll give you about 113 trillion. That's where we're still going with the borrowing. Let me also shock you. In the last 21 years, our debt profile increased by over 600%. I'll read a very exciting thing to you this morning. It might shock you. There is a news article from 31st of July 2021 in the Cable. It says, from Obasanjo to Buhari, our federal government's debt profile surged 685% to 26.9 trillion in 21 years. I'm sure if you remember, at some point we had our debt forgiven, largely by the Paris Club. When President Jonathan was leaving power, the debt stock was about 12 billion in dollar terms. Today it surged to over 50 billion in dollar terms. That's the kind of country we've built. But in all of this, ask, what did President Buhari do with all the money he borrowed? I'm sure they'll probably show you a rail line. Ibadan to Lagos rail line with all of its challenges, and the train stopping in the middle of the road because of no diesel. Kaduna rail line that we couldn't put in security infrastructure and people were kidnapped and a doctor died and many other people died. I'm sure they'll show you rail lines. What else? They'll say roads, Lagos Ibadan Expressway. Yeah. What else? They'll show you other infrastructure projects. How does this affect the people? What have we done with all the money we've borrowed? We've squandered riches. We've printed more money, we've borrowed, we've increased the debt stock at the detriment of Nigerian people. And that's why we're asking more questions from President Tinubu. What are you going to do with this money you want to borrow now? Yeah, you might claim it's been approved before. What are you going to do with it? Because the supplementary budget the other time was to buy luxury cars and a couple of other things. Don't we feel sad that a position like the wife of the president, we're buying luxury cars for her, is not stated in the Constitution? Why do you need to do it? The president's wife said, oh, we are not coming here because we need your money. We're already rich before we came in here in the first place. They could have afforded their cars. Then we talked about the yachts. Then we all saw what happened. Now we're passing another loan. Is it after the state governors are spending billions of naira on frivolous activities and incurring more debt to the future generation yet unborn? Please humor me. If all these loans we take, if we can see the direct knock-on investment on Nigerians, I will be the first one to say, borrow more. We're seeing what you're doing with the money. But we're spending it on frivolities. And we forget we have to pay back this money someday. And because of the law, we're having a knock-on effect on inflation. Most of the money we printed in ways and means. But remember the inflationary pressures all of that brought, we've not settled all of that. So now, even if we call for debt forgiveness, no nation will take us seriously. Because when they forgave us our Paris Club debt, before you know it, we borrowed all over again. And we are squandering our riches. We're not making enough revenue. We're incurring more debts. The budget, 27 trillion. The revenue projection, and it doesn't mean you are hitting that revenue. It doesn't mean you have, it's just a projection. You can fall far low. Project performance is about the 50-60% percentile. But what are we doing with the money? Nothing. We just squander it. And what we hear down the line are cases of corruption. Please, the National Assembly should save Nigeria. I know they say the National Assembly is rubber stamp. Scratch that. The National Assembly is copy and paste of the executive. It's obvious that anything the executive says, they just copy and they paste it. But at least, if it is the will of the Nigerian people that put you there, investigate and ask questions. But how will you ask questions in the National Assembly? You remember they approved the 160 million for your SUVs, isn't it? How would you ask questions? Because you're also in there as complicit while the people bleed. Have a conscience.